Welcome back to another episode of watching One Piece every day until I die or I catch up and seeing which ones comes first. No editing, no setup, no script, not even editing out me starting the video because this is the realest content on YouTube. And you know what? It's just vibes. It's just talking about how One Piece like you would with your friends. But, you don't have any, so that's why I'm here. So without any further ado, let's get into episode 10, which is the world's strongest weirdo. Django Unchained. Oh, the world's strongest weirdo, Django the hypnotist. We almost had like a crazy crossover shot there. So this episode kind of got, in the last episode, I kind of couldn't talk much about, what I thought because it was really just exposition to this arc that's going to come up. So this episode, we see a little bit more of kind of the development of this arc, and I really enjoyed this episode. I especially like Django. He's really funny. Honestly, just my favorite part is that when he does the hypnotizing thing, he falls asleep too. I don't know why. I just think that's such like a funny touch. It's just like so stupid, and the fact that he's always moonwalking. He's goofy. That's one thing that One Piece can do is they can make their characters just goofy, and even like villains and stuff. We find out that he's a bad guy, but it lets these like bad guys not be too threatening, while still having power. Like I'll get into it later after I do a quick synopsis. How's that sound? Look at me. So it picks up with the gang like going into to meet Usopp while he's talking to Kaya, and Claridor comes out and confronts them, and he like basically berates Usopp and tells him that he's never going to be a pirate, blah blah blah. And then Usopp goes up and just smacks the shit out of him. Respect to Usopp. And then basically they get kicked out. And so Claridor goes into Kaya while she's like crying, and he puts on this whole sob story of like, ooh, like, I owe your father my life. Like, which we find out later is a ruse. Because we see that what he's plotting to do to like kill Kaya to inherit all the money. And so then Usopp and Luffy are later like kind of jumping to the next section. Usopp and Luffy are just chilling on this cliff, and they overhear Django and Claridor talking about their plot to kill Kaya. And then Luffy, always needing to be the sharpest knife in the drawer, shouts to them that they're there, and then proceeds. This is just my favorite part because it's just too brain rot. It's just pure brain rot. It's just like Django needs the person to look at the hypnotizing thing the whole time to hypnotize them, which is so stupid. Like no one's gonna look at them unless they're actually unless they literally are running on like 12 brain cells. Which thankfully that's about double the amount Luffy is like running on 24/7. So Luffy like stares at it the whole time and falls asleep, and so does Django because just of course his power does that. And then Luffy just falls off a cliff, but because he's like gum, he's totally fine. And Usopp, flees the scene. I just loved that interaction. Was just so funny to me. It's something about One Piece where it's just they just let the goofy characters just be goofy, and it just makes it so much more entertaining. But basically we get more introduced to like Claridor and his character and his plot to kind of take over and stuff. And I'm gonna keep this episode short because I don't want to yap too much. I just want to get into sort of the meat and bones of these next few episodes and see this plot unfold and how the gang are gonna stop Claridor. But this is what I'm hoping One Piece will look like. I know it'll get better. That's the thing. Especially as the world expands and we get more world building and cool stuff like that. But this is what I hope that One Piece consistently looks like: entertaining, funny characters like Django, and honestly like Claridor, who are just interesting and unique. Have actual backstories and aren't crazy out of the wazoo, like in terms of like power scaling and trying to make you think they're so powerful. Claridor is just a pirate who's very smart and resourceful, and I know from the live action that he has like the devil fruit, like Wolverine power, or whatever. But this is what I hope it looks like. Just setting up entertainingly. The setup doesn't have to be boring at all. These last 2 episodes I enjoyed quite a bit. And then hopefully it pays off in good ways. So yeah, I'm happy with this first like real arc of One Piece, and I'm gonna quit yapping and just watch the next episode, and then get back to you after episode 11. Peace out.